Welcome, everyone. I'm Kelly Dewar, Senior Shelter Solutions Specialist at Maddie's Fund. Joining me today is Deb Fair, Executive Director of the Pedigree Foundation. We are here to showcase some of the 2025 Foster 50 Challenge Award winners' successful strategies and give you an opportunity to ask them questions about their programs. Thank you so much, Deb.
Thank you, Kelly. I'm super glad to be here today with all of you to learn more about Foster 50. So, how did Foster 50 come to be? About a year and a half ago, we were listening to our Shelter Advisory Council members, and they had mentioned that length of stay had doubled at shelters and rescues across the country. And so we thought to ourselves, okay, volunteerism, foster seemed to be a solution that kept coming up as a possible way to help reduce length of stay. So we asked ourselves two questions. The first question was, what if we could create a national movement across the United States to increase more foster pet parents? And then two, what would be that 1-degree shift that we would need to make? The answer was Foster 50. So we pulled together a group of animal welfare experts to unite together to provide grant funding and resources to shelters and rescues across the country. I'm so proud that this year's coalition is back again. We do have some new members. Back again is Maddie's Fund, Adopt a Pet, we have AWA, we have Mutual Rescue, and we have Outcomes for Pets Consulting. But our new coalition members are Mutt Nation Foundation and ASPCA. So how did we do last year? How did we do the first year of Foster 50? So we had 200 communities that came together and supported shelters and rescues that registered for the initiative. We increased our active foster participation by 11%. We had 9,000 new foster pet parents that joined the movement, and nearly 37,000 dogs and cats were placed into foster homes. Those are huge numbers, and about 11% of those animals found their forever loving home. So foster is huge. We are a big advocate of it. We have this group that's come together. We're going to build on that momentum in year two. So what are we going to do? We're going to increase our investment and our reach. So in year two, we're going to be providing $240,000 in grant funding. We're going to extend the national reach because we're going to, instead of having a 2-month challenge period, it's extended to 3 months. So it's going to go from May through July. And then we're launching tomorrow a national movement where we're going to announce a consumer launch to shelters and rescues and pet parents across the country to get them excited about supporting this initiative. So we really want to encourage consumers to step up, foster, and help more dogs and cats find their forever homes. So I'm really excited that you all are joining this webcast today, and I really hope that you're inspired. You're inspired by the stories that you hear from last year's award grantees, but also inspired to join the Foster 50 movement. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you so much, Deb. That was wonderful. Really appreciate it. During last year's challenge, there were 3 major changes we encouraged shelters and rescue organizations to make in order to grow their programs: recruiting more fosters and keeping the ones that they had, reducing length of stay in the shelter, and increasing adoptions from foster homes. So when we, in our montage of videos and Q&A, you'll see a lot of different ways each organization did this. So let's welcome our Foster 50 Transformation Award winners. We'll kick off with a quick video showcasing their extraordinary work.
I'm Lindsay Biggers. I am the co-founder and president of Windsor Kittens. We are based here in Charlotte, North Carolina. We started with an Instagram account and an idea in 2022, and we really just wanted to kind of help community cats in the area. Now, sitting here in 26, we have a goal to help 300 cats this year, and I honestly think we'll beat it. Windsor Kittens is a foster-based rescue here in the Charlotte region. We do both a TNR and an adoption program in our rescue. We have about 20 active foster homes kind of maintained all the time. Something that we did in working with this grant is really trying to increase the number of our active fosters while also reducing the length of stay for our cats in our program. So we're really excited that during this grant period that we reduced our length of stay by 69%. And we also increased onboarding our fosters by 65%, which both of those numbers are really huge for a really small organization because it meant that we're able to bring more cats in, get them into their forever homes a lot faster. We do have a social media presence and we do have a website. We worked to really just make those pop. We also are known, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are, for just showcasing your animals. And we got a lot of feedback from our actual human fosters that it would be really cool to showcase some of our humans. So one of the initiatives that we did was we launched what we called a Foster Fridays social media campaign, and we highlighted actual fosters in our community. We also really tried to reduce staff operations. And so even myself on Windsor Kittens, I'm a volunteer. During the grant period, we actually have a pantry where all of our donations come in. And so we work to make that a self-service project. And so we created password protected documents and training resources, and trained all of our volunteers on, hey, if there's something that you need, go get it yourself and tell us what you've done and what you've got. And that really helped to make sure that, again, our cats were getting the best enrichment that they needed, the medical supplies that they needed, and also the nutrition, without necessarily asking myself every time they needed something. So that was really helpful. And then, of course, there's fatigue in volunteerism. And so we worked really hard to create some incentives for our volunteers. We know that asking them to give their time, their talents, and their square footage is a lot. And so we created a foster benefit package. And based on how involved they are with our programs, the incentives and the rewards kind of increase, from merch to winning tickets to some of our signature events, to development opportunities like attending webinars and conferences and continued education. And so that was something that we spent a lot of time on through this grant program to really fine-tune and release that. We also created what we kind of coined the phrase Adopt in 60 Foster Challenge. And that was something that we had looked at kind of what our averages were for getting what we would call a happy, healthy cat from our program into adoption. Obviously, there's, special needs, medical cases, socialization. So this is your average kind of length of stay program. And what we wanted to do was be both a transparent organization for our volunteers and for our adopters. So we published this content on our website. It was things like we asked for weekly photos, weekly updates. We find when we bring our cats out into the community, they're more likely to, adopt. We also put this information actually on our foster application. And so when we are asking our fosters to sign up, we actually point them to this document and say, hey, take a look at our Adopt in 60 challenge. What is it that you like about it? Or what maybe makes you a little nervous? For us, the biggest challenge was just taking time to prioritize all of the things that we wanted to do and giving ourselves grace that not everything is going to get done. So we focused on what was the quick wins. We knew updating the website copy, making our foster application smaller, streamlining some of our operations were quick wins that were going to show fast results. The advice that I would give you if you're looking to make similar changes to what we did is honestly just to give yourself some grace. When you are in a rescue world, you are doing the hard work day in and day out. You're working to save animals, and at the same time, you're trying to drive business and change your business. This grant has enabled Windsor Kittens to really showcase what we can do here in the greater Charlotte community. We know how to help cats, and this has helped us to help create a community that is actually active in what we do, driving our mission forward, helping us to onboard fosters and get cats into homes faster. And so I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity that we had to work with this team and to create all of these wonderful things for Windsor Kittens.
Hi everybody, I'm Kenzie. I'm with the Humane Society of North Texas, and I am the Foster Volunteer Manager. We are in Fort Worth, Texas. During this period, we were able to recruit over 1,000 fosters, and then we were able to increase our placement of animals. In 2024, we placed 83 dogs and 293 cats. And then this year, during that time period, we placed 262 dogs and 285 cats. We had a pretty large increase. There's two things that I kind of want to talk about. One of them being the recruitment, and then one of them being shifting to pre-pleen foster pets. So first and foremost, our recruitment. We utilize our Facebook page. We have a private foster page that we're posting to, and people would share the word, kind of word of mouth. But
Awesome.
during this time period, we really started blasting all over social media and changing our marketing strategy and really talking about foster with a lot of different posts. Even with like adoption posts, we'd be like, oh, and by the way, you can foster. And so we really started pushing the word out. We also shifted our entire dynamic. Before, we really lived in kind of a reactionary state when it came to fostering. So we would get an animal in, we would prep it, we would take cute photos, and then we would post it, right? And that can be a couple day delay or even a week delay before that animal is able to make it into a foster home. But during this time period, with the new resources, we were able to really get photos prior and really blast those animals out on social media and pre-plea them essentially, so that we actually had foster placement when they came in ready to go. So we were able to place more animals same day when they come in. I think we had some pretty amazing success. Of course, anytime you put the word out on something, especially on social media, there's a potential for backlash. So that's kind of something that, of course, was a fear, but we have a great communications team and they really marketed us in a great way. So that was phenomenal. And then pre-pleeing pets is also something we were worried about because, sometimes if you pre-plea something and then the plan changes and maybe the animal doesn't come in or they rehomed it prior or something to that situation, we were fearful like, oh, fosters are going to get upset with us, but that really wasn't the case. As plans changed, we were able to just be honest and transparent and say, hey, actually this animal was rehomed, but we have all these other animals. Are you interested in one of them? And it really got people interested in trying to foster new things. So maybe they're a kitten foster, and all of our kittens were placed. They were like, okay, well, that's okay. You have puppies. Yeah, I'll try to foster a puppy. So it actually changed the dynamic of our program. And we tried something brand new. We have never done this, but we did all at one time. All of the fosters came at one time for pickup. So as the animals arrived, we were able to prep them kind of like in an assembly line and medically vet them. And then we had fosters on standby and we would just after they were prepped, we walked it straight out to the foster and they went straight out to the foster that same day. So none of them made it into a cage. They all went straight through the shelter, straight into the foster home, which was a huge feat. And then actually a couple of days later, we took in more of them and tried the same strategy and had the same success. Don't let fear hold you back. We had a lot of fear when we did that big pool, but it went way smoother than anticipated. And all of those animals had a foster home that same day. So, maybe your fear can drive you to create a really cool program or create something new to roll out. And that can help the animals in your program even more. So don't let that hold you back. This grant has had a huge impact on our organization at the Humane Society of North Texas. We've really been able to become change makers and really change the way we run our foster program. And we've utilized the resources to really get the word out about fostering. So thank you so much. We can't thank you enough.
Let's welcome Lindsay Biggers, Marcy Juniak, and from Windsor Kittens and Mackenzie Laney from Humane Society of North Texas. Thank you all for coming and answering some of our questions. First question is, foster programs are kind of notoriously siloed in many organizations, but both of your organizations made changes that involve getting buy-in and support from different areas like leadership, marketing, all kinds of different ones. We can start with Kenzie. How did your organizations pull everyone together and get everyone interested in collaborating on the challenge?
Great question. We had a couple different ways we communicate across the organization. First and foremost, of course, like when we did those giant polls and things of that nature, we have weekly leadership meetings. So our leadership is actually able to sit down in the same room and really plan those things out and get everybody on the same board. And then after that, of course, we have daily communication via Slack. It's kind of like Google Meet, whatever software you might use. We have that daily coordination. And then day of, we have lead point of contact to help kind of delegate tasks. So it really helped with that kind of flow.
And Lindsay and Marcy, how did you all get everybody pointed in the same direction?
Yeah, we do a lot of our chats in our Slack channel. So we utilize Slack for all of our volunteers and fosters, and we have dedicated channels for them. So, and those are, kind of something people are in all day and a really great way to get insight from them. But we also have started doing weekly volunteer and foster emails to kind of update folks on where everything is and really get the buy-in. And it also certainly helps that we were doing a lot of meetups. So based on where we are in the Charlotte area, we were doing like East Side meetups, West Side meetups, so that our foster base really got to know each other and that they were really on board and were able to ask our leadership questions and really understand our mission in general.
That's awesome. I think that is so, so important for both for the fosters to get to know each other and really support each other, but also for your team so that you're not doing all of the supporting. Um, so we have a question from Dory. She has asked, she said, "Hi, the Windsor Kittens Charlotte is an amazing video, and they are the same structure as my group. Her group is Tails, a TNR and cat adoption. Is it possible to get a copy of this video to share with her team?" Um, Allison has answered. She says send her an email with your request. But we will also have a copy of this recording in a few days on YouTube and on Maddie's University. So you'll automatically get an email with the link. Other question is from Peggy. What exactly is meant by the goal to increase adoptions from home? We have a rescue site, and even if the animal's with a foster, we do the actual adoption at the site. Is this idea of adopting from home strictly for organizations that don't have a site? I'm going to start on this one because I just saw some data about it. So it is one of the things that we have learned is when fosters are a part of the adoption process, it is a huge factor in retention. I mean, adoption retention. So when you have a pet who is adopted and they know the foster and they know the organization, they have two, methods of support. There are about 8 or 9 studies right now that show that if a pet is fostered, and especially with knowing that foster, they're going to be returned less often. Best Friends just did a study, and I don't have the data on me right now, but they found that organizations with foster programs had more adoptions, but also that organizations that let their fosters help with the adoption counseling had even more adoptions. So I will let you all how do you, increasing adoptions from homes, how is that working for you?
I can take that. So Windsor Kittens is foster based, so we don't have an actual site. And as you saw in the video, we do a lot of community events. I tend to tell people, because I get this question all the time from people, can I adopt same day? And I tell them, unless they have applied and been pre-vetted already kind of by my foster, they're not really going to get to take that animal home at an event, because we might have an event at a brewery or a restaurant. And if you just happen to stumble upon an event and be like, I love this kitten, were you prepared? Do you have all the right supplies at home? Or are you just seeing a really adorable kitten that later you get home and you're like, wait a second, what did I do? And so instead, we work very closely with our fosters to make sure that they're setting those play dates up in their homes. And we have seen really great success rates because our animals are the most comfortable in the places that they are already growing in. And so we actually have better success rates where the animals are just kind of playing in the living room or Marcy's office, for example. And so it's easier, it's a more comfortable environment that actually leads to adoptions without getting them returned. But again, we don't have a site. So that's where it makes us a little bit different, that we kind of have to lean into where our fosters are already based.
Kenzie, do you want to add anything or?
So we have a site. We don't do adoptions like off with the foster, but we do have like the fosters can meet up with adopters and kind of do the meet and greet, and then we process on site. What kind of is beneficial in that aspect is that if it's like a behavior animal, then they have that opportunity. The foster can really promote that animal to the adopter and kind of talk about their areas of opportunity and their strengths and their personality outside of the shelter environment, especially if they can do a meet offsite. And then actually like at that point, if the person does decide to adopt, we can send them with their kennel card or paperwork to an adoption event or adopt on site. So if you're kind of navigating that, that might be an option to kind of explore.
Awesome. We have time for one more question, and this is to Kenzie. How were you able to increase fosters by 1,000 in 2 months? And where did the animals come from when you had that big pull?
Okay, great questions. So it was a huge media outreach on our main pages, our main socials, and we were also picked up by the local news. So when we did our big blast out for these animals, we had a couple of different pulls during that time period. Big one was our Maltese, and so they were from a cruelty case, and we had a lot of Maltese come in. So yeah, so it was pretty interesting. But yeah, definitely it was media and the local news for sure, putting out the word and word of mouth from our fosters as well. That's how we were able to recruit that many.
Awesome. And contrary to popular opinion, even if you have a small rescue, you can still put press releases out into the news and often get news coverage. So don't, it is definitely not something to overlook. Thank you all so much. We really appreciate you coming in and answering questions for us. And congratulations again. And next, we will take a look at the 2025 Catalyst Award winners. Unfortunately, the folks from SPCA of Monterey County couldn't be here today, but we're going to take a look at Daisy's legacy.
We are very grateful for the grant and opportunity. We are a very small organization and just over a year old. What we did in the beginning during the challenge was trial periods. We, for new fosters, we give them like a trial period. We don't say it's like necessarily like long-term commitment. Sometimes they are hesitant in the beginning if they want to foster. And we try to match fosters with dogs that we think will make them more confident, especially if they don't have like a background with fostering and they're a little bit hesitant. So we try to match them for the first time with, like a smaller dog that doesn't have like behavior challenges, so they can build confidence and continue to fostering. And I think that's another great thing. It's we post the dogs while they still in the shelter. So we have time to find like a foster for them before the dogs are out from the shelter. So we don't wait till last minute to advertise the dog. We want to make sure fosters are supported from day one. We send them all the materials they need. We send them all the tools, supplies, and we have somebody who is available to help them any step of the way. We also send them like behavior information to make sure they are comfortable what they are doing, and also to make sure the dog is receiving the care it needs. We use a Facebook group, and we have a chat and other tools that help us stay connected and supported. And also when we have like fosters community, which they have like the platform to talk about it, sometimes it's easier for us because they can communicate between them, and if there is issue or some questions, they can help each other rather than like giving the task to one person and get overwhelmed from questions from all the fosters. So I think like community between fosters and creating community and communication, it's very important. Sometimes we need foster for like 2-3 days or even a night. Sometimes we have foster that are available in 2 days, and some people are not willing to commit to long-term fostering. So we offer short-term fostering, weekend vacation, and also we offer doggies day out. it's very beneficial because sometimes people come into fostering, but they work, so they didn't have time to bring the dog outside and, like advertise, bring it for a walk. We have like 3 adoptions that happen during a walk. So we have volunteers and fosters who are willing to just take the dog for a day or for the night, make some pictures, post it on social media, and try to keep it as flexible as possible. So that had very good results. Many short-term fosters, they continue to fostering with us, even if they started as volunteers for a day, for 3 days, then they build confidence and continue to support our rescue. Social media became one of the most effective tools for fostering recruitment and building community and volunteers network. So we post the dogs in different groups. For example, here I have picture of 2 of the dogs. We post them in different groups, which are here in DC, Maryland, Virginia, and we ask volunteers to share. So we have many foster applications that came from social media. We also try to re-engage adopters, fosters, and volunteers and just create community. And we have many people that continue to support us even after they adopt dogs. Another thing, we also try to do many adoption events. We want to make sure people are appreciated for what they're doing, because we all know rescue is hard and everybody has, jobs. So we try to make some meetups and talk to our fosters, volunteers, and keep in touch so we can together help more animals. And after the challenge, our foster community grow. I think we had like 72 new fosters during the challenge period, but even after the challenge, we continue to follow these practices and what we learned, and our community grow even bigger. So for last year, the whole year, we rescue 154 dogs, and that's the first year we started rescuing dogs. We also simplified the onboarding process and made it easier for people to foster. We did simplify a little bit our application process, but at the same time, we still have very high standards, and we have fosters that are sign up same day. We want to make sure we are still people, and I think communication, it's more important, go on the phone and talk to the people and get the feeling, instead of feeling like lengthy application and with so many questions. And that's make it easier for us and for them too. That grant allowed us to expand our program and help more dogs, and we are very grateful for the support, and we hope to continue saving lives together.
Thank you so much, Krasi. That was really terrific.
Hi, thank you so much for having us again, and we are so happy to be part of the challenge.
Thank you. So I want to say that I want to get this on the record because it was just so wild. When we filmed your video, I asked what were the biggest challenges for every organization, and what Krasi said to me was something that I never thought I would hear in my lifetime. And I was just wanting to ask if you would repeat that for the record.
Yes, actually, we had more fosters than dogs. So we started the challenge. We put social media posts, next door posts, and so on, friends, family. So we had so many foster applications, but we didn't have dogs for all of them.
Thank you. I just wanted to pause here and just let that sink in. This is maybe one organization, but we are in a world where this is possible. And that is so important. questions. So Bridget is asking, when you mention checking in with the fosters, is it an automated email or someone actually calling and emailing? Her shelter does automated emails, and she finds it kind of generic and can be out of date with what's actually happening with the animal. As a foster, she wonders if any real person is actually reading them. I know this could just be my shelter, so she was wondering like what other people are doing.
So we are a rescue a bit, so it's maybe a little bit different than shelters, but yes, we have volunteers that actually call people, and we found that it's easier because yes, like emails can be generic and they don't feel like they are checking on us. It feels like, like nowadays everybody is using AI and chat GPT, and they're like, okay, they just sending something and don't care. So we found out it's easier just to pick up the phone and talk to people. I think it saved time for the fosters. It saved time for like volunteers. I think it's more effective to talk on the phone rather than to send generic emails. But we do send emails in the beginning, especially with resources and some information we think it will be helpful for like how to start the dog for success, behavior, and this kind of things that we think are helpful.
Thank you. Luann is asking this is a technical question. My organization, the Sato Project, is headquartered in New York, and our rescue efforts are concentrated on the island of Puerto Rico, where there are over 650,000 strays. I know because I actually adopted one of them. 95% of our fosters are on the mainland. Are we eligible for the Foster 50? I believe so, but I would email the challenge. I believe that Pedigree Foundation is able to do awards. So,
Correct.
Thank you, Deb.
Correct. Yes, we do offer. I'll answer that. Yes, we do offer awards to grant recipients in Puerto Rico.
Kelly is asking, how about in Canada? Unfortunately, we cannot. I don't think either of our organizations are able to, with our tax status, give grants to people outside of the United States. However, you are absolutely welcome to follow along, use all of the resources we have to improve your programs. All right. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that you're being here.
Thank you, guys.
Now let's see what our 2025 Foster 50 Innovation Award winners were able to do with their $5,000 grant.
So hi, I'm Amy Stemke with Cooper's Chance Animal Rescue. We are located here in sunny Arizona, and we just celebrated our 20th year in operation. One of my favorite data points that came out of this challenge was not only did we see a 10-day reduction in average length of stay for dogs who were involved in this program, but we saw a 35% increase in foster engagement. And that looks like new signups, short-term placements, really just an increase in word of mouth and volunteer applications. We moved away from a kind of a lengthy multi-page application process with references and a home check to really a one-page interest form. And we found that it got folks more engaged. And from that interest form, we would schedule a phone call or a Zoom call to really help identify what kind of fostering might be right for that family or what kind of volunteering they may be able to do. We also introduced a 24-hour temporary foster option where families could foster a dog for a day or a weekend and really see if it was something that they were interested in.
Doggy Dashing is a program that the rescue developed during a time when we recognized that we needed to update our process. We recognized the need to really sort of evolve our adoption practices. So one of the things that Doggy Dashing does is it moves towards conversation-based adoption practices. We've moved away from this idea of having to approve adopters or adopters having to prove themselves worthy. And we really come from a place of trusting our community and trusting that folks that are coming to us looking to adopt are there with good intent. And so our practice is not just approving folks, it's really about getting to know them, getting to know their family and their needs and their circumstances, so we can help better match them with an animal. After a potential adopter is matched with one of our pups, we then typically will connect that adopter with that animal's foster. That allows the foster to schedule the meet and greet for whatever works for both parties as well as the animal. And then the foster is the one who actually does the meet and greet at the adopter's house. The meet and greets typically go really well, especially for the animal, because they have gone from their foster, who they, have developed a trust with, to their potential adopter. Then we do a trial period. It's typically about 48 hours, sometimes a little bit longer. And that's really to help make sure that it's a good fit for the family as well as the animal. And because of that trial period, we continue to have really a near zero return rate.
We've also seen a decrease in stress when the animal, is with their foster and then goes to their potential forever home because they're with someone that they already trust, and that's being transitioned into a new family.
One of the things that I really appreciate about this program too is that we have a number of dedicated volunteers who are our dashers. So these are folks who want to be able to help but maybe can't foster at the moment, but still want to do something. And so allowing these dashers to have involvement in the adoption process has really just made them so engaged. We want doggy dashing to be sort of like Amazon, right? You sort of order something, you're used to it being delivered, so why not shelter pets? So we've taken that same kind of model and removed those barriers, including logistics.
The grant money and with this gift, we've been able to expand doggy dashing beyond just Cooper's Chance. We've been able to outreach to other, especially smaller rescues and rural rescues, and help them identify what barriers do they have in their process, and also have brought doggy dashing to them. So I think anyone who might be interested in similar engagement program is walk through their own application process, whether as an adopter or as a foster, and really recognize how difficult is it. For many years, we have thought that by putting up these barriers, we're sort of protecting animals. But really what those barriers do is remove a whole pool of people who, for whatever reason, don't want to go through all of those hoops.
The really sort of root of it is trusting the community and removing those barriers to help find these pets their forever families.
I feel like the best thing for us was expanding and establishing our furlough and field trip program, which I think people were really super excited about. We probably started off with, I would say maybe 20 fosters at the start of the program, but at the end of the program, we grew that to about 50 fosters because people were super excited about their field trip and the furlough program. So we had dogs going out for just a few hours. We had dogs going out for just a few days. And it was wonderful, like just to see how well received and how receptive the community was to that. And they were able to, jump on board. It didn't feel like such a permanent commitment to people where they were able to feel like it was a good thing to just try to help. I don't know that there was anything that people were really afraid of as far as on our team. It was more like, how are we going to manage the dogs going in and out on like a kind of regular basis versus like, okay, we put this dog in a foster home, but how to manage that. And I think how we overcame that was we established a Google form where people could check the dogs in and out. So we were seeing, who was coming in, who was going out. So we did an orientation. Once they knew what to do, like how to come in and get a dog, where the leashes were. Each foster got a foster bag that was filled with, treats and collapsible bowl and toys and just a few things they were going to need on a temporary basis. Food, of course, if it was a long-term thing. But once we kind of got that system in place, it definitely helped to manage the process. The advice that I would give to somebody that wants to implement the short-term program to us is definitely have a system in place. We have a QR code right by our door where they just scan the QR code. It pulls the form up. They fill it out real quick. They can go to the dog's kennel. We have a kennel card that goes on the dog that says like, hey, I'm out on a furlough or I'm out on a field trip. and they fill it out with their name and the phone number. And so we, if somebody walks in that wasn't aware that a dog was being taken out, it's, kind of public knowledge to everybody. We have grown our foster team. So it's not like one or two people who are able to check the dogs in and out or orient the new people who want to come in for field trips and fosters. So that was helpful, because in the beginning it was like one person was responsible and it got very overwhelming and very stressful for that person. So just getting the team to kind of all get on one page and understand how to get people in and out, and the transfer of the information, that was what I think helped us the most. 50 program really helped us to enhance our program, and we kind of saw like where our shortfalls were, and we were able to learn from all of the other people that were in the program as well. So that was like really helpful. I would say participate in everything that is given or provided, and learn from your peers, and just go with it and make it fun and worth it. And we loved the program, and we loved being involved, and it helped us grow our foster program like exponentially. Like, we're so grateful that we were a part, not only being a part of it, but being one of the recipients. We're so grateful, because we went into it, we're like, oh, we could get $100, we could get whatever, we could get nothing. But even if we got nothing, it was huge to learn from this. It was huge. We wanted our fosters to not only be identifiable, the main thing was for them to be identifiable at an event. Like, oh, the purple shirt, that's a foster. But not only that, but it was kind of like we did it for an icebreaker. So like, while we're at events, we're hoping that people are like, oh, tell me about fostering, because we didn't have a good way to be like an icebreaker, like, oh, you should foster, da, 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 da. It was kind of, like I said, like an icebreaker conversation. When we're at an event, I can identify myself who's a foster versus who's a volunteer. And I keep telling them, wear them out in public, take your dog to Home Depot, go in public with your fosters. It was an eye-opener for us, and we were super grateful to be part of it and to be a recipient. I thought, oh my gosh, there's like, I don't even remember how many people were involved in this thing. And to like be picked as one of the top 15, I was like you could have knocked me off of the chair. So it's pretty awesome. So thank you to the sponsors.
Wow, what a success. Welcome, Stacy Pyrick and Amy Steenke from Cooper's Chance. We have a couple of questions. It looks like Krasi is typing the answer one, but I think it's a really good one to be asking to you two, because it is a question I hear a lot. How do you get your volunteers to want to participate in adoption matchmaking? Many of them want to foster, but not necessarily engage with the public. And do you allow fosters to handle counseling, contract signing, payments, that kind of thing?
Stacy, go ahead.
Okay. Yes. We do allow our fosters and our volunteers to do that kind of thing if they're comfortable. If they're not comfortable, then our adoption team, will gladly coach them through. And we just hope that once somebody does it a few times, then they get comfortable, and that just helps take the burden off of some of the, our main people.
For us, sort of similar, right? We do a lot of training with our volunteers and our fosters. And if someone isn't comfortable in that role, we're going to try to train them up so that they are. But if they're not, we move on to another volunteer. With our doggy dashing program, we have a number of transporters who will really just work on transporting the animal from the foster to its potential family. And although the foster or a volunteer may do the meet and greet, the family is already approved by the organization. The adoption contract, payment, and all of that is handled still administratively by our organization.
Awesome. Another question is, how do you work around the liability of having volunteers show dogs versus staff?
I guess we've never really ran into that. So kind of a question I didn't have a good answer for. Um, we train our volunteers and everything pretty good. So I don't know that I'd ever worry about, any sort of liability. They know, like, if they're not comfortable with either, a dog, the dog that the adopter brings in on a meet and greet, or even a foster brings in on a meet and greet. And if they're not comfortable with placing an animal in that home, they know, we empower them to say no, or if they're really uncomfortable with the situation, to give one of us a call, and then, we kind of help them through it.
We're kind of similar, where again we're training up our volunteers and our fosters, and part of what we do, just like we are doing some matchmaking with adoptive families, we do the same with our fosters. So we're not going to place them with a dog that they don't feel comfortable with, and one that they wouldn't feel comfortable taking to a meet and greet. But also, if there is a dog that has that significant concerns, they're probably going to be in a sort of more specialized foster home that is equipped to train the animal and do that kind of thing.
Awesome. And then I'll ask you the question that I asked a couple before. How did you get your whole organization kind of working in the direction and bought into let's expand our foster program? Like, what were the things that maybe you did to kind of to make that happen?
I think for us, our program was really born out of the pandemic, that we all had to shift gears and change how we were doing things. And so the doggy dashing program has evolved from that. And so we had we all had to sort of reorganize when COVID hit and figure out how we could continue to do rescue work. And so we recognized that there were so many steps that we could do virtually and that could be done through conversation. So we brought together our president and CEO, myself as the volunteer and outreach coordinator. We also had our foster volunteer and one of our board members. So we had some representation from the executive board there as well. And we just had to problem solve through it. And we were lucky enough that everyone really loved this idea and loved different ways to remove barriers. And so we really started to implement in little steps. I'm actually a trained social worker, just helping out in animal welfare. And so one of the things that I do a lot is implementation. And so we piloted this, we walked through different steps of it. We didn't change our entire process. And I think that went a long way in getting that buy-in, not only from our staff and volunteers, but from our community as well.
I think for us, we, again, we train our staff and our volunteers pretty well. So for us, I don't think there was really a super learning curve. And, there was a lot of things when we implemented the program that we did from scratch. So it wasn't super, I mean, it was challenging. I don't want to say it wasn't challenging. It was definitely challenging. But I think our team was very good and, helpful and had lots of ideas. I think one of the things for us is our foster team and our volunteers, because we do have a brick and mortar location. So, if a volunteer came in to help, walk the dogs or something during the day, and maybe came in a few days later and saw like the same dog there, they're like, oh, come on, this dog's been in the cage, let's help get them out. It was like breaking them out of jail kind of thing. And so they were all very passionate about that. And even still to this day, it's like, okay, like we just had one of our dogs that actually got returned. He was here for a bit, and we just had a foster pick him up right before I started the webcast. And it was awesome because it's like he's been here for a little bit, and now he gets to like break out of jail and go in home. And probably in a few hours, I'm going to see, pictures of him laying on the couch and things like that. So I think for us, our volunteers and our fosters, they like to see that type of stuff. So it's real easy for them to get on board with, advertising and sharing these dogs to, like I said, get them out. So hopefully I answered that.
Yes, thank you. All right. Well, I really, really appreciate you both being here and everything that you've done to make this webcast a success. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kelly.
Now, Let's watch how the 2025 Community Connector Award winners earned $5,000 each for outstanding work engaging communities, expanding access, and creating inclusive pathways to fostering.
I am Beth Brooks. I am the Development Director here at the Humane Society for Tacoma and Pierce County, and I am joined by my colleague.
My name is Allie Anderson, and I am one of the foster care leads here. So we had a couple different goals for Foster 50. We wanted to make sure that we were recruiting more foster caregivers because you can never have enough fosters. Reduce the length of stay for our animals because we want to obviously get them adopted, but we can't do that without our fosters telling us things about our fantastic animals. And then also increase our dog foster placements with our existing fosters. So how can we make sure that we are getting those animals out and doing the best we can to help them get to their forever homes? We had some different strategies. So we established ongoing Q&A sessions via Zoom and in person for our fosters. We opened the doors with some healthy, adoptable, and more of the easygoing foster dogs that are a little bit easier to place. And then we also made sure that we expanded our foster to adopt program, also known as FTA, to better manage our capacity here in the shelter when we are getting close to or at capacity. Major innovation was Foster Fest, which was a recruitment event. It was something that we did here at the shelter, and we asked the public to come and learn about our foster program, have fun, play games, eat food, and really reach out to the community to make sure that we were gathering our fosters from there. We measured a few different things. So new foster volunteers that were recruited, dogs that were placed in foster during the challenge program, and then also the length of stay that they were having.
So we held a circus theme open house for the foster curious. Existing fosters really helped support that event. They ran Meet the Mentors booth where they were like kind of stump the mentor. We also gave our fosters Ask Me Anything stickers. So our new prospective fosters could easily identify who were the experts in the space that could help them navigate. We used a passport to kind of move those folks through the shelter to different stations. And then we also offered same-day placements to new and approved fosters. So we had a QR code for folks to scan that they could fill out an application, and kind of our back-end team could process the background check and things of that sort while they were moving through the event. And then they could check back in at the foster lead station to see if they could indeed take home an animal that night. And of course we had snacks because the public can't resist free food. So here's a little peek at the passport itself so you can kind of see the stations that we used. This was like a folded piece. So the graphic here was designed by someone in our marketing department who is an amazing illustrator. So the little pup in the circus clown outfit was the cover, and then the squares here were stations that we asked our guests to go and visit, and then we had volunteers manning those stations that would stamp their passport. At the end of the event, the passport went back to the foster lead station, and then we did a drawing for a donated gift card of $50 after the event to those who completed their passports.
For Foster Fest specifically, we actually got 49 new foster applications that day. We facilitated 8 same-day placements, so those were 8 people who were ready, got there, and wanted to make sure that they were taking home an animal. During the whole challenge, we actually had 143 new fosters that were added to our program. During the challenge, we placed 137 dogs and puppies into foster care. And then we had actually 574 cats and kittens into our foster program. We adopted foster Q&A sessions as regular occurring elements. So we are actually currently planning this year, 2026's Q&A sessions so that we can make sure that we are continuing to help all of our fosters with any questions and get those things answered that they need. Of the 143 new fosters that were recruited during the challenge, we have 47 that have already fostered with us at least once. They are still on our list, and we are actively sending them animals that need to have a comfy home to hang out in. And so 121 of those 143 are still on our active foster list. And with kitten season coming, we are super excited to have them. 2 of our new Foster Fest fosters actually ended up fostering that same day, and they fell in love with their cats and adopted. I think honestly, we're still trying to figure it out. Is length of stay for some of our more behavioral dogs, or some of the dogs that don't necessarily show well in the shelter but are still great animals, we're having great success with for some of the more behavioral or the harder to place or longer length of stay dogs. Who are the people who are giving us that A+ gold star information that is really getting those animals to the perfect spot for them? Because it really is about the animals and making sure that we are placing them in homes that are right for them.
The investment in our foster program means a lot to us, not only from a programmatic place where we can increase our marketing and refine the tools that we have with the resources that Grant has given us, but it also is a boost to our staff. A lot of times, sheltering is a hard business to be in, and it really helps buoy spirits when people from the outside are looking in and saying, good job, you guys are doing all the right things. And so that's really almost bigger than the investment in the program, is also just the investment in the people. So thank you so much.
My name is Gabe Horton. I am the executive director of Foster, and we are a small nonprofit in Nashville, Tennessee. We are actually not a shelter or a rescue. We foster pets for people experiencing a temporary crisis with the goal of reuniting them with their families. We took on a few different strategies during the Foster 50 challenge. The first one was a referral incentive. So it's very simple. If you refer someone to be a foster, you will receive a gift card when they foster their first pet. We did not publicize the amount of the gift card, but we were planning on a $25 gift card for those referrals. Our biggest undertaking was building relationships with our Spanish-speaking communities. And so we did that in a few different ways. The first step was to make sure that any of our foster recruitment materials were available in Spanish. So this is a postcard. We already had the English version, so this is just translated to Spanish. And these postcards were given out at community events, in storefronts, anywhere that people who might want to foster and who speak Spanish would come across them. Similarly, we have flyers, and we primarily put these up in storefronts along Nolensville Pike, which here in Nashville is our immigrant corridor, so lots of Spanish speakers frequent those businesses there. But beyond just making the materials available in Spanish, we knew that the most important work is actually showing up and building relationships on the ground level. So one way we did that was by participating in a Spanish language market. And this is the Cosecha Community Market. That's another local nonprofit. And the market is a mix of Spanish and English speakers. But that was a good way for us to just show up in person, put a face with the name, and start to build relationships with people one-on-one. Probably the biggest undertaking for us was building out the Spanish language version of our website. Every line has been translated by a volunteer translator, so this is not an automatic translation. And one of the places you'll see that is in this Niñeros de Mascotas. So that's what we call our fosters. And that is a term that was suggested by a community member. It directly translates to babysitters of pets. But once you're here, you scroll down, there's still access to the English version of the foster sign up. That is the Shelter Love form. However, Shelter Love does not let you customize that first page you see where you fill out your personal info into Spanish. So we have a Google form that is in Spanish and it's simplified. So once you click here, you just answer these maybe 8 or 9 questions. And then once we receive this form, our translator will call you and fill out that shelter love form on your behalf. And lastly, we have a translator who helps us onboard new Spanish-speaking fosters. Her name is Karina, and she actually works for another local animal welfare nonprofit. She is a contractor for us, so we do pay her for every translation service. And that's important because we believe in putting our money where our mouth is when it comes to building those relationships with our Spanish-speaking neighbors. So quickly, some of the results from the Foster 50 Challenge. What worked? So we are looking at the 7-month time period since the challenge started on July 1st to kind of see the longer term impacts of these strategies. We have had 67 new fosters sign up since July 1st. 47 of those have actually followed through to fostering at least one pet. And that is a nearly 50% increase compared to the same period in the previous year. In that same 7-month period, 104 pets have been placed in foster care, which is a 55% increase compared to the same period the previous year. And then specifically looking at that Spanish language sign-up form, we had 3 fosters who signed up using the form. One of them was fully onboarded, and she has actually fostered 5 dogs since then. I just want to say thank you to the sponsors who made the Foster 50 Challenge possible, because these are steps that we would have loved to have done long before this, but the Foster 50 Challenge really gave us that push to move forward and take some really concrete steps that we frankly would not have taken otherwise. So thank you for making it possible.
Congratulations, Beth, Ali, and Gabe. We have a couple of questions. So the first question is to the Humane Society. What is the labor it took to set up Foster Fest, and how many team members or like staff and volunteers were working the event?
I really think it wasn't that big of a lift, to be honest. I do have experience being a Girl Scout leader, so I will admit to that. That was helpful in the whole passport map kind of thing. At the time, we didn't have a manager over our foster team. So as part of our leadership team, I kind of took Foster Fest under me, planned it out day of in terms of setting up all the stations. We did have the volunteers that were working with that event help us setting up the event. So, and Allie can probably speak to more about what how the foster team themselves prepared. But in terms of event execution, I feel like it was mostly me and it didn't take that much time.
Yeah, we have 3 foster care leads. So all 3 of us were there at the event, ready to help out, do whatever we could. Our volunteer team, there are 2 people on our volunteer team. They were also there because they were doing, like they said in the video, the back work for like background checks. And then we did have, a couple of staff members that would mingle around and kind of help out where they could. Not necessarily as like this is something I'm doing for the job, but just because they were curious, interested, wanted to help out. Like our video says, everybody loves snacks. So of course, snacks are incentive to help out. But I wouldn't say we had a huge amount of people from like the job perspective that were doing things throughout Foster Fest. It was very much a lot of our fosters that came in and helped us because they wanted to be a part of the event. They wanted to help other people be comfortable and want them to sign up for fostering. So I think a lot of it was really our foster parents and then some of our just other great volunteers that knew about it that really wanted to come in. I think a lot of the heavy lifting was done by them.
Awesome. Another question for you. How is your foster to adopt program different from your regular foster program? And how do you handle when a foster wants to adopt their foster?
Great questions. So foster to adopt generally is animals that we have here in the shelter that are not ready for adoption based on either a medical status or if they just haven't had surgery. So we might have a dog here that someone falls in love with, but they just haven't hit that surgery schedule yet. Just because they might be newer in the shelter, or we might be with maybe a little bit of more of a backlog for like kitten season. And so the foster to adopt actually allows them to take home that animal that night, as if they are going, with the plan of adopting. And then we set them up with a surgery date to come back. Usually it's within a 2-week period. We try not to send them out too far in advance. Usually, like right now, it can be within 5 or so days, but usually 2 weeks is kind of our max for that. And it allows them to have that pet in their home, get to know them, start to really build that bond. They come back for surgery, and then they do the official adoption paperwork after that. So that would be the foster to adopt program. And so that's different than like a regular foster program, because the fosters that we have, take them, and they may have them until surgery. They may have them for other reasons. If a foster wants to adopt, we do try to let them know that if the animal is available online, there's a chance that someone may put an application and put a hold on the animal. And it may not be the best, option for them if they are looking to specifically adopt someone. But if the animal is not available online, then we do give them first rights to want to adopt that animal. We try to have them give us at least 5-day notice before, if they were coming in for like a surgery or coming in for an appointment that gives them potential for going up for adoption. That's not to say that we don't try to work with them if they decide 2 days before, or the day of. We try very much to work with them, but we do let them know that if they are available online, someone could potentially try to put a hold on them.
Cool. Gabe, this one is for you about the Spanish-speaking fosters. How did they navigate communications when the contracted translator wasn't available?
Yeah, so it's helpful that for all of our fosters, most of it is done through text. And so we're able to rely on day-to-day communication by just using text messages. And that's true. Google Translate into text message. Obviously, Google Translate is not perfect, but it gets the job done. And so we typically are just using the translator with foster recruitment, that introductory call, and then also we have an orientation, and so they help out on the orientation. And then, of course, we're unique in that we have pet owners who we are fostering for, and so same thing there. Just on the intake, the translator has that in-depth conversation, and then we primarily follow up via text message.
Cool. Another one for you. How long do you have pets in foster care for a temporary basis? And are there qualifications for you taking in the pets?
Yes, so we have a 3-month maximum for our program. We obviously work with people when they need extensions. And qualifications for taking in the pets, we are always balancing the need and the vulnerability. In human services, the vulnerability index is a way that you measure how much this person is in need of the service. We're balancing that with the animal themselves. Do we think we can realistically find a foster? And then finally, what is their plan to reunite? So we're really focused on just supporting people in those situations where there's a clear path to reunion within 3 months, and they don't have other options, and we have a foster. And if anyone is interested, we have a monthly meeting of all crisis foster, temporary foster programs. So you can reach out to me and we'll get you on those monthly calls.
Thank you. For Humane Society, are you going to do another Foster Fest or different types of special events, and how often are you thinking?
So we do have quarterly, like we try to do quarterly skills classes that we're implementing. We have discussed doing another Foster Fest. We might change it a little bit this year if we were to do it. We may not do same day placements just so us, the foster team, can have a little more time to talk to the people and really answer questions from our perspective. Since we were doing same day placements that day, a lot of the time we were using talking to the people and getting those animals out. So we thought it would be nice if we do another one to kind of have it more of like a social hour, having people ask us about the foster program or fostering versus just, come have an animal. We can still, of course, set up animals for everyone. Anyone can have an animal, but maybe they leave the next day or the day after that, just so that we can make sure that we can really engage with everyone with the larger group. Instead of just the few people that we had to work with to make sure that they were getting their animal out. But we have discussed that it was a fun event and we would love to do it again, just maybe hone it a little bit more and making it more of an information session.
Cool. To Gabe, how many requests do you get per week for your services, and how do you advertise what you do? And also, have you had challenges when prospective fosters find out that you are not an adoption organization, but more of a pet retention program?
Sure. We get on average about 5 to 6 requests per week, and that's across Middle Tennessee, so Nashville and surrounding counties. We will occasionally get folks who apply to foster who think that it's just a rescue or shelter. The vast majority, to them, it doesn't make a difference. They want to foster a pet. Occasionally, we'll have some who they're fostering because they're thinking about adopting. And even then, they'll say, yeah, well, sure, I'll give it a try. And then if I want to adopt, I'll go to the Humane Association. But we really, from a marketing and communications angle, realized early on that there are people who are in it for the pets and they don't really care what the situation is. They just want to foster a pet. And there are people who are really moved by the mission to support the people. And so we try to use both of those angles when we're messaging, whether it's just to, have a furry friend in your home or really save 2 lives, the life of this pet and the life of that person when they're navigating crisis. So I have a bit of an agenda to say that fostering for crisis foster is not any different from fostering to adopt. It's just the outcome is different. So for shelters and rescues, especially who are considering a program like that, my message is always don't overcomplicate it. If you have fosters, just say, hey, we're going to do this new program. And if they want to be a part of that, let them do it.
Well, you just answered my next question, so thank you. One of the things that I think was really cool about this challenge was that, we always say you need to make your foster program as welcoming and easy to get into and low barrier as possible. And ideally, you would do that. But there are organizations who are not comfortable doing that. And what we found in the challenge was that if the organizations who had those barriers made their process more welcoming and faster, that also helped. So the question Jennifer Thompson has is, what are the steps you take in your foster background checks?
That for us, since we talked about having background checks on the spot. So our volunteer team actually does that. And so what usually happens is they would fill out an application through our website, and that will trigger our volunteer team to take a look at everything. And they do run background checks. I don't know all of the specifics of what they're looking for, but I know that there are very few that have been declined. They're looking for big things to pop out. And then it would be just kind of we have a digital cheetah account. And so it talks about like what they're comfortable with, what type of fostering they might want to do. Is that dogs? Is that cats? Is it small critters? Just asking those questions so that we have the best idea of what that home looks like. Is it a fenced in yard? Is it an apartment? What people live in the home? Are there children? Are there teens? Are there adults? And so it's kind of a wide variety of things for like what a background check is, but then there is also an actual background check as well.
Thank you. And I guess we can just ask you both just like the basic question. How do you communicate with a foster when the period is much longer than expected?
I'll go first. So all of our communication with our fosters is through email. So we tell them very clearly, we are emailing you all the time. So we try very hard, especially because we do deal with a lot of confiscation cases. And those we never really know when the time frame is going to be over. We never quite know what to expect. So we try very hard to let them know what we have as a baseline. So we might say, hey, we believe the first time that we're going to hear about this case is, May 5th, let's just say. And then we try to make sure that we're marking on our calendar or we're marking in Shelter Love a note to reach out to those people. We reach out to them more often about just how are they doing or do they need anything from us, but really specifically on those days that we believe we're going to be getting information, that we are reaching out and telling them, hey, we're waiting on an ACO or we're waiting on whatever it might be. And when we get that information, we're going to let you know. And then if we don't get it on that day, let's say we don't get it on May 5th, we're going to reach out to them and say, hey, you're still on our radar. We know. We always tell people if they need to bring an animal back, that's fine. They are our animals. We will either work to find a different foster or we will make sure that there is space for them here in the shelter. We want to make sure that we are open with, we may not know a time frame, but we will make sure that these animals are cared for.
Yeah, I think it's a great question because probably the biggest reason we hear that people don't foster is because they're worried they will get stuck with the pet. And so we, as often as we can, tell people you foster for as long as you're able. We typically have some idea of the time frame, but we know that it will almost always be longer. So we try to set that expectation up front. We say, the owner thinks they'll be ready to take them back within a month, but could be 2 months. You just let us know, give us a heads up when you think you're about done fostering so we can find another foster. But we have definitely learned that the earlier we can communicate that, the better. It's all about just setting the expectation. If somebody thinks that their pet is going home on May 1st and they don't find out until April 30th that there's an extension, they're probably less likely to be on board than if you give them a heads up.
So thank you so much for being here and for answering questions. We have a couple more that we will put the questions in MPF. So if you want to take a look later, that'd be great. Thank you. So now let's watch how one of the 2025 Foster 50 Pathfinder Award winners won $5,000 for a total program overhaul and a relentless drive to keep improving foster outcomes. Lake Oconee Humane Society was one of the winners, but could not be here today. So we're watching how Treehouse Humane had this phenomenal success growing their foster program.
Hello, my name is Sam Alspaugh, and I am the Foster Program Manager at Treehouse Humane Society. And getting started with the Foster 50 Challenge, we first mapped out how our team could approach the challenge goals from every angle. We did this by taking the strategies we proposed in the application phase and broke them down into a RACI model. The RACI model is a project management tool that we found very helpful in helping us define each role and how everybody could participate. So the acronym is responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. And this really just helped us collaborate best and make sure we know whose priority was what. From there, I helped our teams get started by outlining each initiative in a project planning guide. We simply used a template from Google Docs, but there's a lot of different services out there, both free and paid, that can help teams navigate project planning. This document helped ensure everybody knew where each initiative stood, what the next steps were, and it kept all of our communications collectively in one space so we could have cohesive progress. We chose to diversify our efforts, and we worked on initiatives to hit every of the 3 challenge goals. I wanted to highlight one of those particular ones from our marketing team as an example. So our marketing team chose to shift the narrative around fostering. We assessed first our frequency of mentions about foster on our social medias and our general marketing materials, newsletters, etc., and found that we were only mentioning foster less than 20% of the time. So we aimed to reach the recommended 30% goal from the challenge and actually exceeded that. By the end, we were over 40% of the time mentioning foster. For the socials in particular, we used 3 different approaches listed here. So we did monthly foster volunteer highlights, picking specific fosters that would really highlight the diverse backgrounds that we have working with us and show that fostering really can be for everybody. We also did behind the scenes looks at cats that weren't even ready for adoption, showing their journey through foster and how that's really impactful for us and for the cats. And then we just generally increased the quantity of foster mentions from big calls to action, foster now, to just subtle mentions here and there throughout our social media. Here's an example of a foster volunteer highlight. Jan is a foster who's been working with us for over 7 years, so we interviewed her and shared a little bit about some of the cats that she's cared for, highlighting her experience as a foster. In this one, we highlighted a case of 4 kittens that arrived with very severe eye infections, and we just showed their journey to recovery while in foster. Again, just highlighting it subtly. And then in this one, this was just a general advertisement for cats that were available to adopt from the foster home. So it worked in a cross-promotional aspect. We were able to plug our adoption needs and also mention fostering as a way that people can interact with Treehouse. Looking at the challenge by the numbers, we could see that our measurable growth really was in large part due to the increase in marketing. We had 105 active foster volunteers on July 1st of 2025. We upped that to 138 active foster homes by the end of the period, August 31st. Historically, in 2024, we only had 120 active foster homes for the entire year. We also saw a lot more unique animal placements into foster. We had 179 animals go to foster from July to August in 2025, only 92 in that same period in 2024. And then for welcoming new fosters into our ranks, we were able to see 30 applicants join our ranks in 2025 from July to August, only 18 for that same period in 2024. As a year overall comparison, we had 88 new fosters in 2024 compared to 136 new foster homes joining us in 2025. Our cross-departmental efforts came together through these key successes. That enhanced marketing strategy, so the socials that I already mentioned, but we also worked on in-shelter foster displays, working with local businesses, and neighborhood newsletters. We also launched a digital asset management tool, Canto, which allowed for streamlining content collections and faster promotion of our animals. And then another component of that enhanced marketing strategy was actually just our internal communications with existing fosters. We had been doing once monthly emails to the whole group. We upped that to once weekly. And surprisingly, we actually saw a huge re-engagement of fosters who hadn't worked with us for several years because of that. Less quantifiable, but still very helpful and effective, were our efforts around operational streamlining. We were able to improve the flow of animals and reduce barriers, allowing us to more quickly move animals in and out of foster care. And lastly, we also expanded our trial adoption opportunities. So these are now embedded in standardized operating procedures. We can use them moving forward. And again, just getting more cats adopted and working with our foster homes to do so. Some of the surprises and lesson learned for us was that even though this happened over kitten season, when we are at our busiest in the Midwest especially, we had huge buy-in organizationally wide. We had staff from every department contributing ideas and showing genuine excitement about all of the initiatives, with again, organization-wide enthusiasm and participation. The challenge also brought fostering just generally to the forefront of our internal culture and let us jumpstart some of the projects and processes that we've been talking about for a while and just hadn't really gotten to yet. It wasn't really a standalone project for us. It really did create an organization-wide shift, and we're still feeling that impact today. Generally participating in the challenge really did, like truly, it put fostering front and center. I've been the only person in our foster program since I started back up here in the end of 2023. And this year we actually got approval for a foster assistant so that I can work on scaling our program even larger and implementing some changes that'll streamline things further. So that impact for me has been huge, and I'm really excited for what it's going to do for our program.
All right, thank you so much. Welcome, Sam. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, first question. For the weekly emails to fosters, what is the typical content and information shared?
Great question. So we have been trying to boost our engagement as a community for our fosters and volunteers. So sometimes that's just plugging events. We want you to come and be social with us. We want you to come and join a volunteer event. You don't even have to sign up as a volunteer. So it's not just focused on, please take all of these cats for us right now. It's also about them and seeing them as people and helping them feel as part of Treehouse.
That's amazing. And I think that makes a lot of sense. One of the things we found when we did a survey about foster pleas was that I thought we would have like an upper limit. There would be like this many is too many. But what we found was that actually the groups that are sending the most pleas in the most different ways are the ones who have placed the most pets in foster. So that was a really kind of an interesting revelation. One question is, do you ever move a pet when they've been with a foster for too long?
Yes, actually we do. So we are a cat-only shelter, so I don't know how well that translates to dogs. Can't speak to that. But we find it's actually helpful for getting different perspectives on the animal, getting to hear what this foster's experience with them was, what their favorite toys were there, getting different kind of content for them. So it has been helpful for our available to adopt cats in foster, but it's also helpful for example, kittens, socializing them. You have them with one foster for a couple weeks and then give somebody else a try with different tactics or different approaches or just different energy. So we do sometimes find it very helpful.
Awesome, thank you. There is, okay, I will put this link on the sheet too. Let me write it down. Kitten College is a nonprofit that does something very similar where they break up fosters. So if it's I can't really describe it right now, but they move pets every 2 weeks to a foster who is equipped to handle them at that stage. And the feedback that I've gotten from them is that it works really, really well. Okay. Do you have requirements for social media posts or photos or anything from the fosters?
We have a couple resources actually that we've created for fosters who want or are open to posting on social media about their available to adopt cats or just to share their journey as fosters for cats that are not even done with their medical treatments. So we ask for them to be very conscious of their language and promote positivity. So not in a toxic way, just being mindful of their language, not putting up stop signs. This cat hates children. But being mindful of like, this cat would love to hang out with grownups. So just giving them some tips on how to use language appropriately in that way, giving them some tips on how to literally light a scene and frame a background when taking photos, and then also how to add us, use hashtags, difference between private and public accounts, those kinds of things.
Thank you. Any other questions? Someone asked about the foster plea survey, so I'm just going to stick this in here. All right. How long do you have cats stay in foster at a minimum? For dogs, we do overnights and weekends, but for adult cats, we generally find that too stressful and have set at least a 1 week commitment.
That's a great question. I've actually been wondering and have looked into, I haven't found any research on short stays for cats in foster as far as if anyone tried to put a number on this, but
Our comfort is similar. We like to give them at least 5 days as a minimum. Sometimes for a kitty cold or just waiting for space in the adoption center, that's all we need. But anything less than 5 days can be pretty hard on an adult cat. With kittens, however, take them for the weekend. Their foster needs to go on vacation. That tends to be a little bit more accessible.
Thank you. There is actually one study about it, and I will put a link in the chat.
Thank you.
Yeah. Or maybe not in the chat, maybe in the group, in the handout. All right. Thank you so much, Sam. We really, really appreciate you being here. And have a good rest of your day. Now we're going to watch how the 2025 Video Trailblazer Award winners for leading the way with creativity, resourcefulness, and measurable impact in fostering, and for a transformative commitment to innovation and growth that sets the gold standard for what's possible in animal fostering.
My name is Tucker Chase. I'm the shelter director at the Bitterroot Humane Association in Hamilton, Montana. Overall, we had 138 dogs placed into foster care between our sleepover programs, our adventure days, which is our short-term foster programs, and then our longer-term foster programs. We had 132 cats that were put into foster care, which for our little shelter, it's great. We have an annual intake of about 1,200 animals a year. We just about tripled our foster program for the campaign. Our biggest successes from this one was our Adventure Day program that we implemented, where we let primarily dogs. We did have a couple cats actually go out on adventure days where they went to local businesses. We're in Montana, so we're really outdoor and rural community out here. Everybody loves to get outside. So we set up a program where anybody off the street could come in, fill out a really quick application just so we knew who they were, and then they could go pick a dog out from the back with one of our adoption counselors. They'd match them up depending on what the activity is that they wanted to do. And we'd have dogs go on hikes, go out to lakes, go play in our river, all kinds of stuff. And they're like pet water bottle, the waste bags, and we set them up with a leash and a harness and any kind of toys like a chuck-it, tennis balls, and set them free for the day. It let people interact with the dogs outside of the shelter. We all know they act totally different when they're outside the shelter versus inside a kennel. And we even had cats go out to local businesses, and that helped a lot of our adoptions and our fosters go out, was people taking out cats and bringing them in for like an office cat for a day. We also did our sleepover program, which was a huge success, and we're still doing it. And that's become our main pathway to adoption. 5 nights is our average length, and we set you up with a really cool sleepover bag, depending on if it's a dog or a cat. You get a sleep mask, you get a bag of popcorn, some tea, there's toys in there, all kinds of little things. Like if you were a kid and you were trying to plan a sleepover, we tried to figure out things like you would pack if you were in that mindset. Instead of like a attitude of like try before you buy, it's more like try it out in your home and see how they do outside of the shelter, see how they fit in your lifestyle before you commit to the adoption. And that really brings down a lot of barriers for people. We're the only animal shelter in our county. So we have about 45,000 residents in River Valley County in western Montana here. So our community is a lot of ranches and it's a lot of spread out little towns. So our fear was that people were going to come in from distances away and wouldn't be willing to come back and finalize the adoption with us. Fortunately, we really didn't run into that. Everybody was really communicative with us. They responded to emails or phone calls. We always made sure that we had an updated cell phone number for everybody before they went out. What has changed is that our length of stay has just plummeted. So when we started the Foster 50 program, we were averaging about 32 days for a length of stay. By the end of it, we were down to 9. Now we're even lower than that. We're about between 6 and 7 days, depending on a dog or a cat. Because of that, we're instead of only being able to focus on within our immediate vicinity here, we've been able to branch out a lot and help out a lot of other shelters. Last year, we were able to transfer in only 57 dogs, mostly from shelters directly around us within Montana. In 2025, we brought in 190 dogs, and that's just dogs. That's not including all the cats and other things we brought in. This grant really helped us out with our local outreach, expand our community size from just right here in the valley in our immediate area to now we're able to help out communities all over Montana, but also in Idaho, Washington. We're able to make those transports happen now with this funding, whereas before we couldn't afford it. We didn't have the resources to help out. We've been able to fly in dogs from shelters in Texas, and we were able to help out with wildfires in California. We helped out a shelter at a military base in Southern California as well. They had a high euthanasia list that they needed to get right out of the way. This grant has really expanded our reach from just right here in our valley to all over the Western United States. We're able to support our community in ways that we never imagined we'd be able to do. We've grown immensely, even just from this one grant. So it's been a wonderful experience, and I really appreciate it.
I'm Sarah Aguilar at Santa Barbara County Animal Services. We have 1/3 of one staff member dedicated to foster coordination, and we have 3 shelters across the county. We take in about 6,400 animals a year. During the 2-month challenge, we were able to recruit 235 more fosters. We couldn't do that if we were just relying on one person to do all of the work. Everybody on our team is empowered to recruit fosters, get fosters to sign paperwork, send animals out to foster. And then we also have 2.5 full-time volunteer foster coordinators. One handles neonatal kittens and one handles dog stuff. And then we're bringing on a 3rd person. So we'll have sort of one person at each shelter with some different focuses, because the most important thing that fosters need is communication and somebody to reach out to. And it's just impossible when you rely on one staff member or 1/3 of one staff member in our situation. And a word of advice, building your foster program is making sure that everybody can be involved and not relying on one person. We're still seeing huge volumes of animals in foster, still seeing huge volumes of day trips. We're now starting to get more groups that want to do it, and looking forward to whatever our next step is in our foster journey.
Welcome, Tucker and Sarah. Thank you so much for coming. We have some questions. Tucker, can you tell us a little more about the sleepover goodie bags?
Yeah, so those are a lot of fun. So we have different ones for cats and dogs. We just thought it was a fun way to get people more invested in the program. It's really a minimal cost for us. Each sleepover bag is usually about less than $5 overall. So we do a lot of bulk buying off of Amazon and Costco and things like that. And it's just a fun little way to get people involved. And it was a really different idea that we've seen a lot of success with. People seem to be really happy when they get those. They think it's really clever. And it's just a great way to get families involved and make the animal more part of their house.
Awesome. Sarah, can you tell us a little more about how you are putting so many pets in foster with just 1/3 of a staff member? How are you finding the volunteers?
I don't know if I would have said it was possible unless we were doing it. But when I started the volunteer program here, the foster program here, we had a person in place who's doing rescue, police and transportation coordination. She's doing all of the volunteer management, and then was doing sort of neonatal foster management along with our clinic. And I was like, we're going to start putting dogs into foster, and we're going to start doing day trips, and we're going to start doing all this stuff. And she about fainted. And so we really had to just change the culture across the organization. I started as a foster coordinator, and I can't tell you how many times people, would say, oh, well, you have to talk to the foster coordinator. Everything has to go through the foster coordinator. Oh, the foster coordinator's not here today, so you have to come back tomorrow. And I would come in and I would get so frustrated, like, why didn't you just send the dog? Or why didn't you just talk to, I don't understand. And so it was a really big priority for me that our entire staff, if you can do adoptions, you can do foster. If you can get people to sign forms, you can do foster. It's so easy to just integrate it into the things they're already doing. And initially, some of our team thought, oh my gosh, this is more work, until they really started seeing the benefits. So when we started doing day trips, we do, I think last year we did almost 3,400 day trips. And when we first started, we were doing maybe 5 a week. right? And so people thought, oh my gosh, this is so much work for 5 dogs. And then when it took off, and they would go out in the shelter to do second cleanings or feedings or whatever, and there's nobody there, they realized how much easier it was. The dogs were coming back, going to sleep. They were like, oh, this is great, right? Everybody started buying into it when they started seeing the results. So at the beginning, it wasn't just talking about the importance and making it really easy for staff to participate in it, but also really talking about every single win and all the impacts so that they saw and were aware of the benefits, and not just like, I don't know, dogs go out, whatever. Like, I'm going to call your attention to the benefits of what's happening and the amount of time that you're being saved and how much easier your work is getting, even though you have to do, some extra counseling or some extra forms or whatever. And just to see how excited my team is now in the morning, like one of our shelters, every morning before we open, we have a line of people to come do dog day trips. And the staff is like excited about it. They don't look out the window and go, oh my God, 20 people are here, right? They go, oh, this is awesome. We're going to have a really good turnout today. So it's not as easy as just saying, hey, we're going to be foster and flipping a switch and saying go. It's really building the program, starting small, celebrating the wins, and making sure that every team member understands that they are empowered to send animals to foster. That was probably a very long answer.
But it was perfect. Thank you. Tucker, 2 questions, but they're kind of related, but from 2 different people. The first one is, does length of stay include just days in the shelter or total days in care? And what are the key things that led to such a drop in length of stay?
Yeah, so we've been factoring, well, it's a little bit of both. So that number is primarily days in the shelter. But as our programs really developed, especially the sleepover program, our days in foster care have really shortened too. So we've seen a dramatic decrease in both our days in the shelter and our days in foster care. A lot of that is, just like Sarah said, a lot of that is buy-in between the staff and between the public. So we've made a huge effort to go out into our community. If there's a community event downtown or any kind of any kind of social event downtown, we try to bring our pets to. We have a great team of volunteers, and even some of our board members, our volunteer board members, make it a priority to go take our pets to local businesses, go on their own adventure days into the public, try to go to restaurants where they allow it, things like that, and really advertise those adventure days and advertise their sleepover program. Because a lot of shelters don't do that. We're pretty unique, especially in our area, that we allow the public to do that. And it makes a big difference. We found that people haven't heard of an idea like that before, haven't done a sleepover program before. So it makes them feel a lot more comfortable bringing that animal home, knowing that they're not committed to the adoption. They're not committed to, this is a forever choice. If it doesn't work out, they can bring it back, no harm, no foul, and we'll try again with a different pet. So it's made a big difference for us.
Thank you. This is a question I see a lot. What ways did you market and grow your day trips? Caitlin is saying they have a program, but it really hasn't grown much over the years.
So we've even developed it even further since last summer. So we started off with a lot of our social media, promoting it on social media. We also put up a lot of signage around the shelter, advertising that we do adventure days. And then as it's grown, now we have a system where we send out backpacks with all our adventure days. They're set up with the pet supplies, and they're also branded. And so it says right across the backpack, I'm on an adventure day, asking me about my pet. And then we send out, with everybody that goes on adventure day, we send out kennel cards and basically like a little postcard with the animal's information. So as they're out and about in the community or doing all the fun things that they're doing, if people are asking about information on the dog, the volunteer who's taking the adventure day doesn't have to memorize all the information about the pet. They can just give out the report card or the kennel card. and give all that information directly to the people. And that way they have something physically they can hold on to and helps them remember, oh, that's the pet I wanted to see back at the shelter. And that's really helped a bunch too. So as people are seeing the pets out in the community, seeing the branded apparel, we're getting the word out through social media and then our advertisements around town. Every time we have an information table set up at our different events, we make sure to have advertising for the adventure days. That's made a big difference and that's helped a lot.
Can I to that? Kind of what we've done. We have two different things. One is well, actually, I have three different things. Sorry. One is we have a university that's close to one of our shelters, and we've engaged the students there. And at first, there was a lot of hesitation, like, oh my gosh, these are college kids, and they're at this party school, and da 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 da. But they do, I would say, probably 60% of our day trips, and the volume of issues is like 0.001%. And it's turned out really phenomenal and they love it so much. And the second thing we did is we had actually one of our, we had a Saturday that we needed to close our shelters due to some technological things. And I was like, we're not going to have 3 shelters open with no shelter software. Like that's asking for a huge headache. So we closed, but we knew about it ahead of time. So we told, we did a, email notification to all of the county employees looking for fosters for a day or two on the weekend. And that really got a lot of people aware of the program that weren't directly involved, like, you know, animal services to the, I don't know, behavioral wellness is like, I don't know, they are over there doing animal things. So to get that information in front of them and to know about it was really cool. And we had even some of our county supervisors that participated. And so they talk about it to their constituents, which is amazing. And then the third thing is we have connected with some businesses. Like we have 2 different Starbucks stores that are kind of close to each other and they have different managers and whatever. And kind of issued a challenge with them where, hey, the Starbucks store over here said that they can do more day walks or, you know, sort of stir the pot a little bit and get them in a competition. So now we have the stores that come in, their employees come in. And then there's the added benefit that they now give us like $10 per walk that they do. And we go out there and do adoption events and things. So, creating some competition between some businesses, I recommend it. Friendly competition, though. Friendly.
Awesome. Cool. Well, we are like right perfectly on time. Thank you so much, Sarah and Tucker. We really, really appreciate your help. And thank you to all of the speakers for today. You can find a lot of resources from today's speakers and then other things that you might find useful and some of the things that we just randomly touched on here and put into the chat. So if you go to the Foster 50 page, there is an immense amount of resources on starting and expanding foster programs. Do not forget though, tomorrow is the last day to register for the challenge. The resources are there no matter whether you're in the challenge or not. You're welcome to have them and to use them. And if we didn't get to your question, go on over to Maddie's Pet Forum, or if you have one later today, and we will have answers posted in a few days. Thank you all so much for being here today, and we hope you learned a lot from our winners, and we'll enter our 2026 contest. So good luck to everybody who's watching. You are all absolute heroes for the work that you do. Thank you so much.